I didn't strive for success. I strived to do something artistically important.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Broward Exchange. I am your co-host Nick, and joined with me is my co-host Lewis. Say what's up.
What's up?
So, if you haven't guessed what we're doing,
Have you guessed yet? Have you guessed yet?
Do you know? Do you know?
Do you see it?
Oh wait,
Or do you have faith?
It's coming really fast. It's coming really fast. Whew. Did you see it?
Let's do an instant
Anyways.
replay.
So,
All right.
today we're doing another album roundabout, and the theme for this one is going to be collaboration albums that just didn't come to fruition. They were cut short. Lifespan was too small. Just one album collaboration groups that we love and we wish these people could just get along and just make more music, but they didn't. So
Honestly.
So today I am doing Kids See Ghost by Kids See Ghost, and Lewis is doing Blind Faith.
Mm-hmm. And
So go ahead.
No, these two albums. I kept on thinking about this episode as being like subtitled as like what could have been
Yeah, for real.
the fucking episode.
Basically what could have been the episode. But yeah, so Lewis, you want to go ahead and start?
Yes. So I brought in
What
Blind
did you
Faith.
bring us
Blind
today?
Blind Faith is a single album, single tour band featuring Steve Winwood of Traffic, Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker of Cream, and Rick Grech of Gretsch or Grech. I've seen both pronunciations on the internet of Family. Now, we last episode we were doing the Eric Clapton story, and we're going to continue the Eric Clapton story. And I just wanted to bulldoze right through the Cream story because first and foremost, they're really well known, and they're also really well documented. And there's a bunch of resources out there for their story, and I don't really think it's all that interesting other than the launch from to stardom that they themselves didn't think possible. Like at least with the Beatles, it's like they're pop stars, where like gain recognition was viable to them. Like it's like Elvis could do it, we could do it, right? We could go on international tour. While the guys who formed Cream thought that they were going to stay in the same circuit as the Blues Breakers and just never move out of there and maybe tour Europe. And they blew up almost overnight. And then they broke down really quickly overnight.
Yeah. So for anyone, the
Yeah.
previous episode, Lewis is trying to do a trilogy through these album roundabouts of the Eric Clapton story. And previous episode, he did Blues Breakers, which is like, I guess, Eric Clapton's like first big kind of thing that he did.
Yeah, I think it's like Eric Clapton, the way we think of Eric Clapton, the guitar player. There's other albums where he has played before, but it's that album where it's like, wow, what a guitar player, you know?
Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't seen that episode, if you're interested, it's just we basically just talk about British blues rock for an hour because that album kind of birthed that scene. So how about Lewis, you get us up. So Clapton makes that album.
Yes.
Then there's Cream, and let's get the story up to this album, Blind Faith.
Okay, so that album is made, and at this time, Clapton, and he has said this in multiple interviews, this is not something I'm speculating here, was really hard to work with. And he made it known. And there was like a level of rebelliousness to him of like, no one can own me type shit. So like so it wasn't the Blues Breakers he was the only band he was playing with. It's the only band that could get him to get into his studio. He was playing.
Yeah.
He was sitting in with all types of blues bands on the circuit at the time, and he had this attitude of, "I show up if I want to, even if it's a show, even if it's studio time. I don't care," and he won't sign a record contract. And that changed when Ginger Baker wanted to form a group with Clapton, because Ginger Baker was one of the best known drummers in the scene. Now, Ginger Baker, his call to fame was the Graham Bond organization. This was not a blues band or a rock band. This was a jazz band that formed in '63, featuring Jack Bruce and John McLaughlin and Graham Bond. And these guys were really well known. They did the circuits, but these guys were like the pinnacle of playing at the time in the London underground scene. John McLaughlin left for a bunch of other different reasons, and Jack Bruce got fired from Graham Bond by Ginger Baker at knife point. After an argument after a show. I kid you not. I don't know what argument they had. I couldn't find sources on that, but I found that all the sources said at knife point. Like, he threatened him physically to get the fuck out of there.
What did he do?
And I don't know. What could it be? Right? It's like, pay me more. Like,
I imagine
you fucked up my solo.
Is kind of hard, because one of the things I know about him is he made an album with Fela Kuti, which is pretty good, because he's a great drummer. And Fela Kuti, for anyone who doesn't know, is an African like Afrobeat musician. He's the guy who invented Afrobeat. And I mean, he went to Africa in the '60s and met up with this guy and made an album.
Yeah, well, actually, immediately after Blind Faith.
Immediately after.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to Fela for sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But yeah, no. So, and Clapton didn't know any of this. He just knew that Ginger Baker played with Jack Bruce, and he's like, Ginger, I don't know. Maybe if you can get Jack Bruce on board, I'll play with you guys. And guess what? And somehow Ginger Baker let Jack Bruce know. He's like, hey, Clapton wants to be in a band with us. And they dropped their animosity, at least for the first album. And they were really excited, and they received a lot of positive support. Like, everything was going well for them, right? This is like the psych scene was blowing up in both the U.S. and the U.K. These guys were they had enough popularity from the blues circuit scene that they didn't have to do any of the legwork to get onto the radio. And then once they did, they were already writing psychedelic stuff that lands them a lot of fame in the U.S.
Yeah, was this Cream you're talking about? Yeah, okay.
This is Cream. And pretty much it was like that for a while, but Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker do not like each other. So the entirety of Cream's career, they were fighting, like, all of the time. And Clapton described it as incredibly emotionally draining. And when I mean all the time fighting, I'm not talking like white album, like, oh, you annoy me, oh, why can't we have my song in the album? Sort of like sibling fights that you see with the Beatles, because they're brothers. Like, it just looks like a sibling fight. No, these guys would get into fist fights regularly. and it'd be so, for such petty reasons that they don't even remember half the time why they got into the fights.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm pretty sure it's a clash of egos. It's a clash of, like, who was the leader of the band, who was the main star of the band. The record label kept on, like, pushing for Clapton to be the leader of the band. But Clapton is the one that writes the least. Also does not have a strong singing voice. Also he just doesn't have the charisma to be a frontman. And he didn't want it in the first place. Yeah, exactly. Like, so that was also something where, like, the other band members would get heated at Clapton, because he pretty much, everything that he said to the record label was good. It was accepted. Like there was no argument, and then Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker would always get some sort of resistance to their creative ideas. And honestly, looking back, from the outsider looking in, right? If I was the record label, it's because Eric is like the least complicated. Like he's the least problematic. Of course, I'm gonna let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
right. But the two buffoons that keep on fighting each other every day, like, I don't want to side with one or the other because then it's gonna lead to more fights.
Yeah, it's like managing, like, oh, it's like divas. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and so pretty much like the first album, the first tours, everything was going swimmingly. Eric finally felt like he was in a band where he was like the least talented person, and he loved it. And it kept him like taking it seriously and having him show up and learning. And he was like, I really have to push myself to prove myself to these guys. And by the end of '68, they formed mid '66. By the end of '68, he was tired of it. He was noticing that they weren't even paying attention to what he was doing, good or bad. In fact, no one was really paying attention to what each other were doing. I have multiple stories of, shows where like one member is like, wait a minute, they're not even listening to me, and they just stop playing, and they watch the other two dudes go at it for like 10 minutes. Like, they're like, oh, I could just not be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Dude, Clapton is like a musical fuckboy.
What do you mean by this?
Like, he goes into a group, he really enjoys it, and then he's like, you know what? There's more out there, and then he leaves and goes to another group.
Oh my god. Yeah, but like ironically enough, this might be the one time I don't think Clapton's the problem.
Yeah, because from what I'm getting from his personality is that he just wants to make good music with no bullshit.
Yeah,
and has like no tolerance for bullshit. Like he's kind of aggressive about it.
Yeah, like it's got to be great. It's got to be great. It's got to be authentic, and it's got to like have real musicians on board. And like he doesn't give a fuck about the record sales. He doesn't give a fuck about like being a pop star. He just wants the music to be good.
Yeah, and he uses the opportunities of making music just to play with people who he looks up to.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
And also something that I get from Clapton is that he keeps on being pushed by the record label because Clapton grew up with the idea that the guitar dude is the side dude. And he has always molded his playing and his professional relationships to be like that. And then he himself birthed the idea in at least rock music history of like the guitar player is actually, regardless of he's singing or not, is the star. And I feel like he's always been resistant to that idea, like from the get-go. And like every single band that fucks him up because the record label is expecting him to grab the pieces, get the band together, do the songs, when he in his mind is like, no, dude, I was always supposed to be like a side dude to the best musicians on the planet, not the star. Like he never wanted it to be his band. And we'll see that later because like even with Derek and the Dominoes, they insisted to have his name on the band, right? It was supposed to be Eric and something else. It wasn't supposed to be Dominoes. He was like, no, dude, I want he wanted like an alias. And he didn't want any of his name to be printed on any of the stuff, any of the promotional material. So, yeah. And Cream, like at least it was like the trio, right? No one dude is the star. It's like you can have your favorite. And I think he really liked that. And anyway, the shows continue, the tours continue. They released like 4 albums in the span of 2 years.
They're pumping it out.
They're on, yeah. And
which Cream album is your favorite?
I think my favorite might be Fresh Cream. I'm not being contrarian there. I'm not trying to be contrarian, but like for me, I think it's like I really like how varied it is.
Yeah.
And
Well, their whole discography is really varied.
it is very
There's
varied.
there's psych rock, but it's like there's
Yeah,
like jammy parts. There's parts that are like really hard.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of little flavors in there.
yeah. I mean, the funkiness of Disraeli gears is hard to
Yeah,
compete with,
yeah,
and that's the Jimi Hendrix influence just like seeping out.
yeah,
Like you can tell, like, cause like Fresh Cream is like pre Jimi Hendrix Clapton, and Disraeli Gears is post Jimmy Clapton, and you can tell immediately that his funk game like stepped up to a whole new level,
yeah,
and also like his use of the wah really comes through.
yeah, yeah. You could tell.
And then for me, Wheels of Fire feels, I don't know, I don't like it. I feel like it's trying to compete with like some of the Baroque pop that's popular at the time,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like
like Coco
that's
Haram
not
kind
what
of shit.
Cream, like, who's to say what Cream should be doing, but like for me it's just not the Cream that I love. I love the much bluesy, the much more jazzy Cream that we get
Mm.
towards the beginning of the career. Um,
Yeah,
which is also why I'm a really big fan of the live recordings. If you haven't listened to Live Cream, both volumes, highly recommend if you like Cream. Highly recommend if you like jam bands, and highly recommend if you want to hear something that might resemble post rock at times, like, or where it
yeah,
just becomes like this torrent of noise, and rather than them thinking about like the notes themselves, it becomes like a textural thing. It becomes like kind of like shoegazy, um, which is a different type of psychedelic noise that Jimi Hendrix was doing. So yeah, no, highly recommend those. And yeah, no, so Cream, they broke up. They decided to do their farewell show.
yeah,
Um, and that farewell show pretty much sealed the deal for Clapton. Like he was considering maybe a reunion in the future when things cool down. But the farewell show was, in his opinion, was pretty bad, and definitely not what Cream was about. And the fact that like these guys didn't put their heart and soul into like a farewell show, and the fact that like everyone, they just played to get to like take it take it off themselves,
yeah.
kind
Clapton
of.
seems like if
Yeah,
the rest of the band is not putting 110% of the whole pussy in it, then he's just like no, like
yeah,
he's
no, like it's like,
unmotivated.
what's the
Yeah,
point of doing this?
yeah,
Yeah, and so that sealed the deal. But like uh Jack Bruce still wanted to be in Clapton's good graces. He was still wanting to leave the door open for Cream, and he's and I don't know why. I couldn't find why, but I found multiple sources saying that Clapton promised Jack Bruce, like, hey, next time I play with either of you guys, the other dude has to come. Like if I play with you, Jack, Ginger's got to be there. Like
yeah,
it wouldn't be fair of me to do the other way.
yeah,
And he left it at that. Uh, throughout all of Cream's career, and a lot more towards the end, Clapton wanted Steve Winwood to join. Steve Winwood is at that time already really well known as a fantastic multi instrumentalist, but he wanted him on keys. He thought that him on keys, first of all, personality wise, would chill out the band, and second of all, it would allow the focus to move away from soloing to songwriting, because Steve is on that front.
yeah,
Even though he's really really good at making like jazz songs and playing in jazz bands, what Steve wanted to do was keep on doing these like jazzy pop tunes.
yeah. So Clapton wanted to move more into like songwriting and stuff like that. Like,
It's something that will move. I don't think it's so much like his like artistic need, but more like in a like logistical, like, okay, how do I get these guys to calm down? We gotta solo less, right? We
yeah,
gotta like do something to bring down the ego a bit, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And so he considered him. The other guys were like, no, we're already Cream, we're already the power trio of the world, you know. And but and then towards the end of '68, um, also keep in mind, like throughout the entirety of Cream, these guys, uh, like would even at the beginning, they weren't like close friends. They're professional associates.
Yeah.
And so it would be like a thing of like they record, they play, and then they each go their separate ways. Whether or not there was a fight or not, they just hang out with other people.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really hang out amongst themselves like you see the Rolling Stones do or the Beatles do. Which isolated Clapton quite a bit. So a lot of times he would hang out with Steve Winwood and he would jam with him. And a lot more towards the end of '68, he's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. We should do something together. And that became a possibility once Cream broke up. And around that time, Steve Winwood was on hiatus from his band Traffic. And they were jamming. And one day, this was after a few jam sessions where they were like brainstorming who can we get as a rhythm section, right? They thought about getting the rhythm section for Booker T, the guy who made like Green Onions.
Yeah.
And they thought about maybe getting like some members from the Wrecking Crew, possibly. And on one of these days, lo and behold, Ginger Baker knocks on Steve Winwood's door. Like he's like, I'm here in the neighborhood. I was just stopping by, right?
Yeah.
And Steve Winwood was like, oh, if I can get Ginger Baker to join, we'd form a great band.
Yeah.
And Clapton was kind of hesitant, but Steve Winwood was like, okay, let's jam a little bit, see what's up. And they jammed. Apparently the jams went awesome. They were fantastic. But for very obvious reasons, as pointed before, Eric was very, very hesitant to let Ginger Baker back in.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Ginger Baker also has notorious temper and a notorious heroin addiction. At the time.
Shit! At the time.
And Eric Clapton diet was a problem, but at the same time he was getting into heroin. And from what I can gather, I don't think he wanted to bring up that argument and be hypocritical about it.
Yeah.
So he just let it slide. And he let it slide even more once the record label was like, oh, we have Ginger Baker and Eric Clapton in the band again? Fuck yeah. And they got signed almost immediately, right? They didn't even need a demo. They got signed, then started making the demos.
Yeah.
They got the bass player of Traffic. No, not the bass player of Traffic, sorry. Of the Family. Family was a lesser-known psych pop early prog rock band that the dudes from Traffic produced. And the bassist of Family, he quit mid-tour because Eric Clapton hit him up being like, you want to be in my band? And he's like, oh, it's Eric Clapton, I gotta go. And because of that, the Family hated that dude from then on out, and they were very unsupportive of Blind Faith.
Damn.
Yeah, like Jim ruined a professional relationship that way.
Damn, yeah, you poached their guy.
Yeah, so this is like on a really uneasy footing on all sides. Oh, keep in mind the Traffic hiatus was supposed to be just for like Christmas. Yeah. The guys from Traffic would never imagine Steve Winwood would form a completely different band without them.
Yeah, he cheated on them.
No, exactly. Like all of these motherfuckers like doing scummy shit in order to form this band.
It's funny how the emotions of that like play into the music at the end of the result, because you're saying like Steve Winwood was there in Cream because he wanted someone who was mellow.
Yeah,
and that impacts who's on the band, and it impacts the music in general.
Yeah, and there's so many a lot of people like imagine this album to be like very underwhelming when they hear it, and I mentioned like which musicians are on there, but I think the context adds a lot of like, bro, the fact that this album got made is is crazy to me, because it was recorded in 2 months. The material was written in less than a month, and it was all like borrowed songs that like Clapton had in the presence of the Ward, like thinking he was gonna write it for Cream. Steve Winwood had these songs that he thought he was gonna give to Traffic. Ginger Baker thought he had like a solo career song, and they all just throw it there along with a Buddy Holly cover.
Yeah.
But the record label like kept on pushing for them to do live shows, They in fact did not want to put out a record until they did live shows. And
because it's like live shows at the time, kind of like a marketing thing too.
yeah, like it's the record that makes the
yeah.
money. Yeah.
Someone goes to the show, they're like, "Oh, they were good," and then they go buy the record. So that's what the record label's seeing.
And now it's like flipped. It's like people listen to the record and then go to the show.
Yeah.
And even now, like the shows don't even make that much money because arenas charge a lot. So most bands actually make their money off merch. There's a joke,
and that is why your T-shirt at the show is $60.
Yes. Yes. And that's why they're limited edition shirts. They only do like 50 prints of them, so they can charge like 200 if they want to. You know, it's always the only shirt on this leg of the tour that exists.
Every time I go to a show, the merch line is a mile
insane,
long.
Bro. There was one for King Gizzard. Have you been to Space Park in Miami?
I don't think so. Is that what the Space Club is?
No, there's Club Space. That's like in a different part. But Space Park, like, how do I give you an idea? You know how big a mile is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the outdoor area is like half a mile. And the line for just the T-shirt stand centipeded along that half a mile.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these guys' first show was at Hyde Park. It was supposed to be a surprise show. They get their equipment out there. Keep in mind, this is like a free show. Hyde Park has now become like legendary for a lot of bands to do their debuts because, people are always there. It's really nice. I've been there myself. It's really nice to sit down and chill out at and have a picnic. And it almost like, and it doesn't have any trees. Like it has a few trees that looks pretty, but not enough trees that like if a band is playing like 50 feet out, like you can still see them.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of perfect for an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
It's like flat.
In fact, King Crimson did their debut in Hyde Park as well.
Oh yes. I think I've seen that video.
Yeah, actually, there's the video of the Blind Faith show there. Keep in mind that is their very first show. All four of them played ever.
Yeah,
was their debut show, and they're like, oh, just for the sake of practice, we're gonna make sure that the first show isn't promoted. And of course, the record label was like, fuck that, we're gonna promote the shit out of it. So instead of the expected 5,000 people that go to Hyde Park, it was taken over by 100,000, expecting what the record label has marketed as the new cream.
Oh my god!
Yes, and then they get there and they have like a small section of songs. We're gonna play for like maybe an hour, right? They're not thinking anything of it, just to get the rust off, and they just meet. They see 100,000 super fans of Traffic and Cream yelling for, play this Cream song, play this Traffic song. And Clapton is there with like some new equipment too, some new material, and it's so obvious like he does not like the idea that 100,000 people have come here to see what he thinks should be like a practice or a warm up. So like he like stands behind the drum set and does only like really short solos the entire time. Like he does not want to be there. It's pretty obvious.
He hides on the stage.
No, like he's like he has this face of like, oh my god, I fucking like he had this like I'm already done face, and this is like the first show they've done. So like throughout this and so yeah, no, they do that. And Clapton is still trusting Steve on this. Steve is like keeping Clapton on board because Clapton like from the very first show is like, Steve, I'm out. Like I need to get out of this. He's like, no, trust the process, bro. We're gonna be the greatest band ever. And they rushed this album, right? That's why if it feels like it should be both longer and that's why they also have the really big jams. The really big jams, in hindsight, are nice, but I can see how a lot of people thought they were filler when it first came out. Although it did inspire a lot of notable bands, the two biggest notable ones, Santana and Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
But this is not the original cover. Have you seen the original cover?
I'm looking at it right now. I got the Wikipedia page. I really like the original cover. I don't know. We can't show it on YouTube. I guess
we definitely can't show it on YouTube.
I just had to put a big censor bar because it has boobies.
Well, it has 11-year-old boobies. Cover. That's an 11-year-old chick. I'm not fucking with you. Whose bright idea was this? Eric Clapton's friend. You know the one he stayed with while between. I have to
close the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, actually, between the Yardbirds and the Bluesbreakers, it was like his sculptor friend, and Clapton's like, "Yo, I want one of your pieces as the album cover," and he got a piece called "Blind Faith" on there, and like he was scouting, he wanted to get a chick, he wanted to get a girl, specifically a girl that was about to mature. That was his goal, right? To be the ultimate sign of innocence next to a sign of humanity's technology.
I see what they're going for because it's blind faith, and if I'll describe it, I'll commit a crime right here. I'll describe it. It's like it's a naked girl over like what looks like the Windows background saver, the Windows background thing of the white plane and like the grassy field, and she's like holding a plane, like kind of guiding the plane down. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing the idea is that it's like a youthful person guiding, an incredibly complex instrument down, like blind faith.
Yeah, it's like like humanity completely untouched by like it's like intellect, like just pure innocence like that, and yes, like it's like guiding the plane down, but I'm not sure what they were thinking of.
Why not use like Eve, like the biblical Eve?
No, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, listen, why not get a woman? Titties out, right? That shit could be hot. Fuck it, But like, 11-year-old, the photographer originally wanted her older sister, who's 14, and took like test pictures of her, and then went too old. I kid you not. And he's like, do you have a sister? And they bribed this girl. They're like, you're going to get a pony if you do this. I shit you not.
What the fuck?
Dude, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. And then they put this on the album cover. Record executives saw it as a wait, that's okay. Right?
The 60s.
No, this also does not help that Clapton, especially at this time, was very vocal about his love for blondes. So it's like, you see that image and you're like, really? So Blind Faith was, they announced their first album. They announced their first album, and the minute you can get pre-sales open, they started coming in. And they were on track to be a #1 hit record at debut. Right? Just from pre-sales alone. Because they had Clapton and Winwood. They're like, how can it go wrong? Then the album cover came out, and 70% of all U.S. pre-orders got canceled.
Yeah. I could see why. I mean...
So the record company...
America was more conservative back then.
Yeah. I mean, this is a time and place where, like, there's, like, people... I'm not sure this is like a few years earlier, but this is like the time and place where people are boycotting the Beatles for being anti-religious or like Hindu or whatever the fuck, right? So like I don't know who in their right mind approved this. Anyway, the record
it's always a risk.
Yeah,
putting like boobs or nudity on an album cover. I feel like because it's just gonna turn people off and make it think it's like a weird. Like freak album,
Yeah, it's like this is like just music you fuck to and like nothing else.
Yeah, like a porn, like it's like something like that, like weird.
Yeah. And so like they scrambled to make this one, but by then it was too late, Yeah. So this like what I got here is I think an original pressing. No, not original pressing. Sorry, this is a reissue because obviously new cover, right? Yeah. But even then, this one is kind of lame. This is just what they had at the back of the album in the original cover.
Yeah.
So like I don't know why they couldn't hit up the dude from Cream. I guess they don't want to be too much like Cream, but they could have saved themselves a lot of money there.
Why didn't they just redo it with I guess boobs are bad, but like throw some leaves in there or something, and make her of age.
They couldn't throw a dress on her. Like she's innocent, all right. She's a kid, all right. Just have her put on a shirt, like, goddamn, like, bro, it's not that hard.
Why? Yeah.
So yeah, no. So that happened. They did their tour, all throughout the tour, right? They're being supported by bands like Free, and this other really lesser known band now, Delaney and Bonnie. Delaney and Bonnie were an Americana, sort of like soft blues rock sort of act.
Okay.
They're a husband-wife duo.
Yeah.
Very, very, very similar to the band. If like at least from listening to it, I'm like it's kind of similar to the band. It's kind of similar to like soft Allman Brothers, and Clapton throughout the tour just got closer and closer to them. Like once again the whole Cream thing happened where it's like it's four dudes in a band, and sure they might like each other, but they're not friends. It's like a show ends, they each go through their own hotel rooms. Like they're not like hanging out like that. But he notices that Delaney and Bonnie is like it's not just like a band, it's like an entourage. It's like a family. Like it's like motherfuckers that like love hanging out with each other. Not just that, like they love just jamming wherever. They on tour, it was really regular practice that like they would just like get into a jam when the bus is fueling up, or when they're at the airport and they're like just like spending time together. They're like, all right, let's pull out acoustic guitars and shakers and see what we can make. And it's not even like a thing of like, oh, let's try to write a song, let's try to write a hit,
Yeah, it's very free spirited.
That sort of like comfiness was something that Clapton felt like he was always looking for in his bandmates. Before he couldn't have it because he was an asshole. Now that he like kind of stopped being an asshole, he's reached the level where it's like he's surrounded by people who just care about playing music at its full capacity, and that's it. They're not about hanging out. And then by the time they reach the end of the tour, he's going on Delaney's and Bonnie's bus instead of the plane that's reserved for Blind Faith members. He just like he just keeps on like hanging out with them, and they reach Hawaii, and they had from all reports a pretty bad show, and they just knew it was over. There wasn't even like a discussion of it. It's just like Steve went home on his own. Ginger Baker went to Jamaica to try to get clean from heroin. Because he's like, Jamaica is like the only place that has good music and no heroin. Like that was his thought process. So he didn't know Blind Faith was broken up until like a few months after going to Jamaica. Like he came to Jamaica to the UK to the news that Blind Faith broke up. And Eric Clapton didn't have a conversation. He just kind of signed on to Delaney and Bonnie and assumed that Steve wouldn't hit him up, and it never did, and that's the end of it. Like it wasn't even a conversation.
There he goes again.
There he goes again.
Out, in and out, just like that.
Yes, but in Delaney and Bonnie, what's really important is that he meets the members. That he meets a bunch of different musicians that he later recommends to George Harrison. And then when they play all together on George Harrison's album, they formed Eric and the Dominos. And so while it sucks about Blind Faith, and at first I was like, how dare he leave such a good project for Delaney and Bonnie, which in my humble opinion is alright. It's comfy, but like it's not Blind Faith. Like it's not nearly as cool as this album. Even though this album might not be as cool as it could possibly be, it's still better than Delaney and Bonnie. So I'm like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? I don't know. It seems like if Jimmy Page joined the band, like I don't know, like after Led Zeppelin 1, and you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Why? But
yeah.
But yeah, no. And Steve Winwood went back to Traffic, and this time he had he had a whole new emphasis on like trying to do longer jams, which is like longer jams, more improvisation, more jazzy stuff. Which he claims was actually inspired by Cream. It was inspired by
Definitely by Blind Faith. His time in Blind Faith, because
well,
this shit
in Blind Faith as well.
yummy.
It's just like it's weird to say in Blind Faith because well, while Ginger Baker was moving towards that, Eric Clapton was like, well, less jams, shorter jams, less psychedelic, you know.
Okay, but there's a 15-minute jam song on this album.
Yeah, well, guess who wrote it?
Who wrote it?
Ginger Baker. He gets the longest solo.
And it's like super drummy, and I think we should talk about the album itself.
Yes. This album is actually for me it's organized like a jazz album, where the two biggest jams are at the very ends.
Yeah.
And they do this practice of like when they get out of soloing, they go right back to like doing the main melody, and then they go back into soloing. Because like for rock music, it seems like they played a song and then the jam, and then they like break the drum set or some shit.
Light that shit on fire.
Yeah, like so. For in a lot of ways, and so like this album was. I think it's better appreciated like that when you're thinking of it as a jazzier album, as a what they were thinking. They were thinking they were combining going from rock music into a jazz band. Even so much so as that the first show was in the U.S. was the Newport Jazz Festival, which they later got banned for.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. What's your favorite on the album?
I was running, like for exercise.
Yeah.
And I listened to the last song, "Do What You Like."
Yeah.
And my soul astrally projected out of my body as I was running, and I was transported 4,000 years ago in the wheat fields of Mesopotamia as I was running from a lion.
Yeah.
So
I
have a
did you chant along to it?
Yeah, low key. No, I was breathing to it. I was like, like breathing to it.
Yeah.
And it was really good. And it was something that was like, now that you told me Ginger Baker wrote it, and then we can go back to Fila.
Yeah, like this is like
that reminded me a lot of Fila. Yeah,
exactly.
It's very God, I forgot the name. There's a Brazilian genre that's basically that. It's like long rhythmic chanting, like very drum heavy, and all the songs are 15-minute long. And for me to hear a song like that on what I was going into this album thinking is like, oh, this is going to be another like blues rock, but maybe more like jazzy kind of thing. And to just hear that, I was really like, whoa, this is out of nowhere. And then the album clicked, and I was like, wait a minute, let me listen to it again. And I realized like there's a lot of like, they're doing a lot of things here that just needed a second album. And it could be like
I know it's like the beginning. Like we have a lot of seeds here, you know.
A lot of seeds.
This could germinate into a lot of like really interesting musical ideas.
Like they could have made 3 more albums if they just went down each seed, essentially.
I think if the record label wasn't just stupid about how they managed everything, we could have got like someone that could have competed with like Zeppelin. You know, like this would have been like a very interesting like yin and yang situation where Zeppelin is going more bluesy, going more like heavy, it's going more messy, you know, going more psychedelic, and then we have something that's going more jazzy, more poppy, more folksy. A
Yes,
lot more
yes.
like world music, and and we even have like it's like the power was it what's the four one power foursome.
The what?
What's okay? A quartet. Yeah, we even have like the
Yeah,
quartet here. So where everyone's writing as well, and
yeah,
but it just a lot of mismanagement, a lot of like missteps, really a death by a thousand cuts sort of thing going on here.
yeah. Well, you know what? It just wasn't meant to be, I guess. These people just
Yeah,
couldn't work together. I
and
mean, other
yeah,
than in the when they make music.
um, I've seen both Steve Winwood and Eric Clapton in interviews be like, we should have got the drummer for Traffic. It's just that Steve
But
was
you wouldn't have do what you like if you didn't have Ginger Baker. You know what
that's
I mean?
true though. That is true.
You know?
It's like it's so hard because and even then like I don't think like the Dude from Traffic is good, but like not even like what you like, but what's the first one? Had to Cry Today. Like that shit wouldn't be the same without Ginger, you know. And even though he's being
No.
more reserved than he would be with Cream, like he's giving it some funk, you know.
Well, that's what he's gonna do.
And Sea of
Like,
Joy is like got this like really like almost like Caribbean sort of thing going on top
yeah.
of like this really folksy the band sort of sound, you know. Um,
Yeah, so let's
yeah.
let's categorize. What are the seeds they planted with this album? And can you give me the song that plants it?
Okay. Had to Cry Today. Um, for me, really opened. Well, I think that those seeds got planted just somewhere else. That really opened the door for a lot of like blues improvisation that wasn't like in like the 12 bar sort of thing. Like that
Yeah.
opened the doors for guys like Santana and Dwayne Allman and even later like guys like Pink Floyd, right? To
Yeah.
like to be able to like use like the blues scale and blues like phrasing on top of like more interesting chord progressions um and funkier chord progressions and just to provide great vibes. So like that seed could have been there. The this like
Yeah.
this like British folk Americana mix that appears on Can't Find
Yeah,
My Way
yeah.
Home,
Reminds me of like
and
yeah, reminds me of Fairport, like later Fairport convention.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think that it actually reminds me a lot of late era Beatles. Um,
Oh, like let it be.
Let It Be,
Or
some stuff from
the
a White
album.
Album. Um,
Yeah.
uh, actually, Sea of Joy reminds me a lot of Here Comes the Sun.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and right. Once again, like that mix of like it's soulful, it's jammy, and and it's actually really like it keeps on the rock music into the vibe it's always been, which is like happy dance music. Instead of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
vibe that it did go into in the early 70s, which is um, heavy metal.
Angry dance music.
It's very horny, angry dance music.
Yes.
Um, and also and Presence of the Lord also as well like brings in a lot of gospel elements. Um,
I
both of
like
the
Presence of the Lord,
yeah.
and that one to me felt like soulful.
Mm,
Like there's kind of like a soul thing going on there, but like not like in the British way.
in the
And
British way.
I'm like, wait, this could go somewhere where
Yeah.
it's like soul but more folky, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I do like because like I feel like these guys were onto something of like trying to create British soul. Like Beatles were already doing stuff like that at the time, of course. Like if you listen to
yeah.
early Beatles, there's a
Well, the
lot of
Beatles
like
did
really
everything, but
soulful. Yeah, no, right. But like But these guys are doing something that isn't like, oh, I'm mimicking American soul artists. It's like, no, I'm writing
Yeah.
soul music, but in my tradition, which is British folk music, Irish folk music, and early rock and roll.
Yes.
And yeah, like those things could have all been explored, but like those ideas, at least the idea of like trying to bring back old school rock and roll, got picked up by the wrong bands in the 70s. It just sounds like really corny, really flat. I, oh, and also another seed that got planted that I think got picked up pretty well, pretty decently, is the fact that like, okay, at this time, you do have a lot of jam bands doing extended jams, but a lot of them are taking influence from Hendrix, and Hendrix is doing like this crazy like noise shit, like these like freakouts, where like the song structure like completely dissolves, and it just becomes like it's really free, and but it's not like very virtuosic, and especially when other bands do it, like Jefferson Airplane. But these guys are like, no. Even though there's parts of the song that get kind of, kind of loose, it doesn't stop being notes. There's no noise. It's not like using feedback as a musical instrument. It's like really thinking of all these notes as in a very melodic sort of way. Which is pretty different from Cream, yeah.
It's what Clapton wanted, because he didn't want it to be entirely jam. He wanted it to have some sort of like cage of songwriting, like it being held together some way, a skeleton to the songs.
You want it to be known as a not just a good guitar player, a good songwriter.
Yeah. And this album really hits like perfectly. Like it's jammy, but there is always something holding the songs together.
Yeah. But it really is like you listen to this record, and while these songs are great, you can tell that a lot of stuff was rushed. Even the production, like there's parts where like the bass drum, the bass, and the organ are all muddled together, and it does sound super great. Even in these headphones, which are fantastic, they like it just like you can't really separate the noise out, and it makes all of it just feel kind of muddy. And I just wish that the record label would have been like, okay, boys, we're gonna give you a year. Like I wish to wouldn't just see immediate money bags and be like, we got to get you on tour, we got to put out this first album, we got to like rush everything, we got to make sure that like the Cream fan base stays alive, and we can pump money. Like, okay, like these guys formed in February of 1969 before the last Cream album got released. like dude, like let it breathe. Like and hell, even like okay, like this band got rushed so bad. They formed February 5th. No, they formed February 1969. They break up October 1969. And then Live Cream gets released 1970. Like a blink of an eye. That's I think 8 months.
That's insane.
Yeah, like
especially nowadays. Nowadays, the record labels do give. Like Kendrick had like 5 years for Mr. Morale and whatnot.
Yeah,
and they'll let the. I mean, I think they know. I think another reason why too is because there's just more musicians now, so record labels don't care about like if each musician is pumping an album every year, because there's so many musicians that they all fill the gaps, you know.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of them just back then were really worried and not used to how pop music works, because pop music was just so fast, so changing. Like, there's a band, Caravan, right? They wrote and recorded their stuff back in '67, back when it would have been super popular, and because of record label bullshit, they released it in '69, and by then, that type of music, which was like jazzy, it was like very Canterbury, very jazzy, very jammy, but really soft and really folky. They didn't get picked up. because motherfuckers were onto Zeppelin and Black Sabbath by then.
Yeah.
And it's like that quickly. Or like if you release like a mod album by 66, it's like it's too late, dude. Even though mod was the talk of the town in 65. And
Yeah.
but my argument against that is like, yeah, that's what happens when you try to release two fads and not good music. Like, just
symptom of itself. Yeah.
like it's like you is like the fad gets overused, people hop on it, it stops being popular. It's just that's what happens.
You are saturating yourself like instantly, essentially.
Yeah, but these record labels weren't connected to each other like they are now. So it's like, I have to hop on this bandwagon because all 14 other labels in my city are, and I'm just going to be left in the dust. And yeah.
Also, you can argue that the record labels they make more money now because of all the great music that they, own the streaming rights to and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like that cushion to sit on, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Well, record labels were kind of just, they didn't have much,
It depends the record label. Like Atlantic, which was what Cream was under, had plenty, but record labels like like Deco or Atco, not so much. But, but yeah, you are right. Like now they do get a bigger share of the portion, and now they get especially now, at least for hip hop artists, like in the early days, got really screwed over, like super screwed over.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how it works in the rock world, because the rock world, like the guys seem like they did pretty well. No one got super fucked over.
Some people got fucked over.
I can imagine, right? If there's money to be made,
Paul McCartney, the rights to his music got bought out from under him by Michael Jackson. Did you know that?
That's fucked up because they're like boys.
Well, no, that they were, and there's like.
And then that happened.
Story. Yeah, there was a famous story where, like, in the 70s, Paul McCartney told a younger Michael Jackson, you need to own your masters, and you need to make sure you own them, because you don't want to lose them. Then later on, with that advice, Michael Jackson not only would own his masters, but he was buying all the other masters. So he bought the Beatles masters in an auction. Yeah. Because he was like, owning masters is really good, so let's just
own them all.
So yeah, and then when Jackson died, his estate was worth almost $1 billion because he had owned all these masters, and he was in a ton of debt. But his estate eventually made all the money back when they sold it, because it just sat there and raked all those royalties.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Is it still all like conglomerated under his estate?
No. They eventually sold the estate to Sony. So now Sony owns the Beatles and Jackson and all the other stuff he bought.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
It's weird. The fact that you can like tangibly own the music in a way. Like it's like a stock,
I don't think it should be allowed, personally.
I mean, I don't know what else to do, because don't you want people to own someone's got to own it? It's kind of weird.
No, but like the idea of like passing it or being able to sign it out,
like trade it around.
Yeah, like, but at the same time, I also don't want to screw over artists, because that is a way of making music. Maybe you give fuck all about the album you recorded 10 years ago, and you're like, well, for $1 million, sure, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
But
it's like, you make a painting.
Yeah.
You own the painting. It's in your hands.
Well, okay, no, but that example is correct, though, right? Like, okay, because the masters fall under the same category as the painting. Like, if I'm a master painter and I make a incredible painting, and I'm broke as fuck, and someone comes and is like, we'll give you money to keep on painting, but just give me this painting, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it over. And if they happen to make a bajillion posters of it, or sell it to someone else for way more money, like, yeah, what can I do? right?
Yeah,
But that is
yeah,
legal.
that is legal, and it's so easy to take advantage because most artists don't make any money whatsoever until they hit big. There's such a huge gap between starving to you're loaded,
Yeah,
so
and
you can take advantage really easily.
the ones that get screwed over the most are guys that are coming in from really disadvantaged backgrounds. That like,
Yeah,
they haven't seen a paycheck in like years, and they're like, well, fuck, dude,
yeah, yeah, like hip
Yeah.
hop, as we were saying earlier.
No, hip hop is like probably the worst of the in terms of like treatment like of their original stars. And
Yeah,
what's even crazier about hip hop is that uh the guys will get big, buy back their masters, um, sign on other people, and then do that to other people. And they're like, well, that's just the game, you
Jay
know?
Z,
Fuck Jay Z.
Jay Z, right
Fuck
there.
Jay Z, bro.
That's literally it. That's literally it.
Like, cause they're like, oh, well, I went through it. Other people have to go through it now. Like, not
And the fucked
noticing the
up part
irony.
about it is that Jay Z comes in like, yeah, I was a rapper, so don't worry, I'll take care of you. I know how it's like,
Exactly. Every single time,
bro.
bro.
Maniacal. Now he's a billionaire, so
So yeah,
that's
so I guess it works.
it works. So that's great. Good for him.
Oh man.
But so if you can go back in time,
Yeah.
and from all the seeds on this album that were planted, which seed would you take and make a whole album of?
Um, you're like asking me which of my nuts do I want to keep. Like, uh, so for me personally, I would have loved to see um more jam band influence Clapton. Like on Had to Cry Today, uh, the guitar work on there is, I mean, the guitar work on Layla is going to be good. We're going to get to that, but but it's just not as cool or Jimmy influenced as how it is in this record. Like I love the use of chords. Of like there's like there's two chord guitars on there that's extremely Jimmy based and extremely colorful, pretty jazzy, and I'm like, I wish I could have seen more of Clapton doing that before he got like full Americana. Um, but it's hard to say because like that's not even. I don't suspect that was even what he wanted to be doing in the long run back then either. So it's
Well, it's
a
hard to
hard
say.
position to put him in, right?
Yeah, because he was doing a ton of shit.
He was doing a ton of shit, but like Hendrix influenced Clapton is wow, right? Or like the solo on "Presence of the Lord," you know, like that
Yeah.
shit. That shit is raw. I wish I got more of that. I want more of the happy Clapton, less of the sad boy Clapton. You know,
Yeah, less of the cocaine Clapton.
like Jesus. It's crazy how he
So
took cocaine and slowed down.
yeah, he did.
Like he took cocaine. He's like, all right, the slowest fucking folk song I can think of right now.
I mean, me and Lewis always have a joke
Yeah.
that cocaine and music do not mix because there's not a lot of good examples of it, except for David Bowie. He is literally the only exception from what I can think of.
Yeah, like the only time it does work is because heroin is a much bigger problem in the band. So
You're stepping down.
yeah, so like it's like cocaine is to get the edge off, you know. That when you're using coke to get the edge off.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Besides Bowie, there really isn't. Like every single time a band gets away from the typical drugs into coke, it just makes their stuff sound really undynamic. Like it's everything's loud, everything's at the forefront,
Yeah.
and it's like got way too much going on. Songs just start and finish pretty unresolutely, and I dare motherfuckers to show me an album that in which this isn't the case, because like this has happened to
Go
like
ahead.
every single
comments.
big like 70s band that I can think of that got really bad into it. Maybe Fleetwood Mac, but I don't really know that much about Fleetwood Mac. And while what's the really popular one? What's the really popular album by Fleetwood Mac? Rumors.
Oh, Rumors, yes.
Right? While Rumors is good, I think everything else is fine. Everything else is like for me. So yeah.
If anyone knows a cocaine-inspired album that is good and is not David Bowie, then put it in the comments below.
Yes.
Yes. Honestly, all those issues of cocaine where you're saying it's too erratic and it's too stimulating, Bowie does do that in his coke era, but like it works. Not the
It works because
part,
he still understands
erratic.
dynamics. It works because he understands dynamics, and like it's not like everything being thrown out. Like, oh man, we're gonna get into a tangent about Station. That's for another episode.
Okay. So we have the seeds of this album. Do you think this album impacted any other musicians in this era?
Just the ones I mentioned before, like moving the jam band away from the freak out of the acid days to more of a we are musicians that like jazz, like blues, like maybe even jazz fusion, and we're just using rock music as an excuse to jam out in large arenas, like Santana, like the Allman Brothers, even a little bit like Ginger Baker's Air Force, which was the project he did after this. And guys like Pink Floyd, Robin Trower. Actually, this album did inspire Dire Straits quite a bit as well, and the Eagles.
I can hear it.
Yeah, but those like early '70s jam bands that wanted to do a cleaner sound, a more sophisticated sound. I feel. So those seeds did get picked up a little bit. Thank God. You know,
something came out of this.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about the
album? Listen to it. Tell me what you think. I've seen it be kind of polarizing. No one's saying it's bad, but more in the like a lot of people being like, "This is the best Eric Clapton album," or "I kind of don't get the hype." Sort of responses. How did you feel about it?
I think for anybody listening, if you like Grateful Dead, this is like just way better.
Yeah, this is
like just better, just actually good, like made well, interesting.
Yeah, imagine a Grateful Dead, but the solos made you go wow without the drugs.
Yeah. Like you can listen to it sober and enjoy it. I like the album a lot. It is sad. I would do anything if I could take a seed and push it forward. I would do anything of like a combination of the British folk, but with like the crazy like rhythm songs, like Do What You Like, and just let that kind of ride out. But you don't really see much of that. Of the
being
British
combined
folk.
on one.
I mean, Ginger Baker. Yeah, combined on one record. I would love to see something like that. I don't think that exists. If that does exist, comment. Yeah. But yeah. R.I.P.
R.I.P. What's the next for what we're shipping off? What's the next? What it could have been?
Well, what do you mean?
This was my could have been. Now I want to see your could have been.
Oh yeah. All right, well, we'll take a break, and then after we'll do. Boom.
I saw that.
All right, we'll be right back.